Every year, moviegoers are treated to the new unforgettable films, but far too often the spectacular acting performances that make the film so great are overlooked. Here we honor actors' work that has been under-recognized, underappreciated and unacknowledged during award season. Who better to kick off this list than someone who has continuously flown under the radar? It wasn't until 2020 that this brilliant artist won an Academy Award, a well-deserved honor for interpretation of the iconic Joker. But 2 years earlier, Joaquin Phoenix gave one of 2017's most unforgettable performances as Joe, a war veteran with PTSD who earns his living rescuing sex-trafficked girls in the crime thriller You Were Never Really Here, written and directed by Leigh Ramsey. It's tempting to say Phoenix has never been better than he is here, but that would just not be true, writes film critic Sheila O'Malley. He was great in The Master and Inherent Vice, in two very different kinds of roles. His career has been a bit all over the place, but in the last few years he's settled into himself. It's like he feels the earth beneath his feet and he knows what to do. It's been exhilarating to witness. Melissa McCarthy does not disappoint with her portrayal of the real-life Lee Israel in Mariel Heller's comedy drama from 2018, Can You Ever Forgive Me? A frustrated alcoholic and unsuccessful writer desperate for money, Lee pays her rent by forging old letters by famous writers and selling them for big bucks. While McCarthy was nominated for the role, her stellar performance was otherwise overlooked. Playing Lee, McCarthy managed something very special. She makes a character who is odd, obnoxious, difficult and alcoholic seem lovable and even heroic, writes Geoffrey McNabb. McCarthy doesn't try to be ingratiating at all, or to tone down Lee's mixture of awkwardness and malevolence. Somehow, she makes the audience root for this despicable character. It's impossible to recognize one without the other. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe complement each other brilliantly, acting opposite each other as the leading man in Robert Eggers' 2019 psychological horror film The Lighthouse. The two men try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote island and working as lighthouse keepers. At the core of the film is Pattinson's impressively committed performance as the taciturn Winslow, writes Alison Wilmore for Vulture. Dafoe may be a delight as a sea-brine gremlin with a bottomless thirst and a surprising sensitivity about his own cooking, but it's Pattinson playing the straight man who sells the slow deterioration of the pair's mental state. In Paul Schrader's 2017 drama thriller First Reformed, Ethan Hawke plays Reverend Toller, the pastor of a small church in upstate New York. Toller begins to question his faith and spiral out of control after an existential encounter with an environmental activist and his wife. You are drawn into Toller's story by a steady, unblinking camera that quickens your pulse even as it encourages your contemplation, writes Justin Chang for the Los Angeles Times, and you are held there by the mesmerizing clarity and intelligence of Hawke's performance, which suggests that the most powerful epiphanies may also be the subtlest. Possibly too subtle, continues Chang. Hawke was conspicuously not nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award or a Golden Globe, both key Oscar precursors. It's easy to see why. This isn't the kind of acting that calls attention to itself, that blows you over with bravura feats of vocal distortion and prosthetic wizardry. First Reformed gives us the latest in a string of remarkable Hawke performances, following the subtle explorations of midlife discontent in Before Midnight of 2013 and Boyhood of 2014, and the biographical transformations of Born to Be Blue 2015 and Maudie 2017. It is, I would propose, the culmination of the richest, most accomplished and surprising career of any actor now working in American movies. It's not on the same level as her Oscar-winning performance in Black Swan, but Natalie Portman's portrayal of a Celeste in Brandy Corbett's musical drama Vox Lux is one you don't want to miss. Celeste is a school shooting victim turned pop star. Now 31, she is on the verge of a comeback when another horrific scandal threatens her career. Film critic Luke Chanel explains that, indirectly referencing both the Columbine High School massacre and 9/11, Vox Lux seeks to explore the connection between pop stars and terrorism, coaxing up a wealth of thought-provoking ideas in the process. This is held together by a powerhouse performance from Portman. She is equal parts fierce, bratty, and unhinged, yet she is also empathetic, emotionally wounded, and intelligent. Portman's complex portrayal is never less than enthralling, and she completely looks the part too with her overstyled quiff and swaggering demeanor. She is utterly captivating and convincing as a world-famous pop star in the film's climactic concert sequence. In perhaps one of the finest performances of his career, Jake Gyllenhaal blew audiences away as Louis Bloom in Dan Gilroy's 2014 crime thriller Nightcrawler. Louis begins a new career as a freelance cameraman after discovering that he can earn money by selling footage of accidents and crimes to the local news networks. He becomes obsessed with getting the money shot and is willing to do anything it takes to get it. Gyllenhaal's bold, committed performance makes Nightcrawler one of the most entertaining movies of the year, writes Jocelyn Novak from the Associated Press. The most frightening thing about Gyllenhaal, even more than those swallow sunken cheeks, those googly eyes, and that unkempt hair tied into a greasy bun, is his smile. They invented the word creepy for that smile, a goofy, confident grin that reaches its full breadth just when you are starting to realize how deranged the guy really is. Bong Joon-ho's 2019 comedy thriller Parasite swept the Oscars, but the acting performances did not receive the credit they deserved. In particular, Song Kang-ho as Kim Ki-taek, the father of a destitute family struggling to make ends meet. After his son lands a job as a fake tutor for the wealthy Park family, the other members of the Kim family soon find themselves lying about their education and experience level to land jobs within the household. Bong explained that choosing Kang-ho to star in the film enabled him to embolden his approach. There was a relief that came from the certain expectations that if this actor plays this role, even the controversial parts will be definitely convincing to the audience. The script of Parasite especially has bold, unexpected, or somewhat controversial moments in its later parts, but having Song Kang-ho in mind resolved the fears and concerns that I had writing them. Kang-ho, who has starred in more than 30 Korean films and collaborated with Bong on 4 of them, says, "Over the years, the characters I have played have appealed to the Korean audience more as familiar, very realistic people that they can relate to, rather than somebody from a fantasy world. But in Parasite, Kang-ho isn't the big star, nor is he able to lean on his instant likability," says Patrick Berzeski for The Hollywood Reporter. One of the worst Oscar snubs of the last decade was Toni Collette's performance in Ari Aster's 2018 horror film Hereditary. Collette plays Annie, a grieving mother who has just lost her daughter in a tragic car accident. Annie is unable to cope with the loss of her daughter and quickly becomes unhinged, spiraling down a rabbit hole of satanic rituals and discovering that her own mother may be the blame for a curse on their family. The film's most important asset is Colette, who weeps, screams, and snarls her way halfway off the screen and into the audience laps. Tasha Robinson wrote for The Verge. Annie is a complicated character, sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes outright repulsive. The role only works because of Colette's power to sell her emotions to an audience that may want to distance itself from her visible agony. Watching her suffer is emotionally exhausting, because she plays the character with such intensity. Last but most definitely not least, One could argue that Adam Sandler gives the best performance of his career as charismatic New York City jeweler and gambling addict Howard Ratner in Josh and Benny Safdie's crime thriller Uncut Gems. Sandler brings audiences along with him on the ride of their life as he rushes around the busy streets of Manhattan, placing high-stakes bets and fighting off Jewish mobsters, all while dealing with a messy life at home that includes a divorce and a girlfriend half of his age. The Safdie brothers' Uncut Gems proves to be one of the most mesmerizing thrillers in a long time, and Sandler is a major reason why it works, wrote Nick DeSemblian for Empire. It's a career best performance, reminiscent of his career studies 17 years ago in Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love, but even more layered and magnetic. His Howard is instantly iconic, part job, part Jordan Belfort, part Jerry Maguire. He's lavishly attired, balancing out his shady wardrobe and dirtbag facial hair with the star of David Pinky Rink. Rarely stopping to take a breath, he is by turns hilarious, soulful and maddening, drilling down into a character who seems initially cartoonish but becomes even more fascinating and human. Sandler is totally believable as a rapacious lowlife with big dreams.